Shadid Eleazer here. This is Behind the Brand, where we talk about the story behind the success. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest who's going to teach you a lot about a lot. And her name is Steph Ritz. How you doing, Steph?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you for having me, Shadid.
Yes. Now, everybody has a story. Every success has a story. Please, but first, it's important to know about your mission and why you do what you do. Please share your mission with the audience.
Yeah, so my mission is to help as many entrepreneurs to help you voice your passions, knowing that your words change the world. So it's a matter of communicating with purpose versus communicating to just talk or to be heard. And that comes out within your business and your relationships. And really being able to say what you meant to say. It comes from a place of being a voice as a caregiver for the first 11 years of my adult life, and really understanding, though she could have a voice with me, as soon as we went in public, everything would shut down and that voice wasn't heard. Or how I came into business because my stepdad passed away before getting his autobiography published. All he wanted was his voice to be heard. And my mom took that up for him. 2 years later, she passed away without having completed his wish. So I took on their dying wish and published the book, as well as then integrated it into the online system the sales system that we had, and positioned everything that was in the business, creating a lead magnet while still fulfilling his desire for a legacy. And so you never know if you have a year, if you have 10 years, and if you don't take that opportunity now to say what you need to say, to see the future as you want it to be, then you never know if you'll ever get that chance. And it creates a massive amount of desire and passion to help you voice your passions.
Wow. Very powerful. Very powerful. Now, you mentioned that words change the world. And now I understand that in your first 11 years as a caregiver, but when did you realize that you had the ability to change people's perception of how they get the words out, and that was a gift and talent that you had?
So it actually started really early on. When I was a freshman in high school, I was part of a diversity club. Initially, I was invited into this, and I couldn't really understand why. I was honestly the only white person in the group, because it was all of the cultures of the school. And they're like, well, do you know these people? I was like, yeah, they're all my friends. Yeah, that's why you're in this group, right? And because I was in that group, a woman approached me and asked, she was trying to start a gay-straight alliance at the time that they didn't exist. And so she approached me to say, well, since you're in the diversity group, can we make this an umbrella of this larger group? We got it approved, but we launched this with a book. One of the ladies that was part of the initial crew that we started this Gay Straight Alliance, she reached out to a publisher of a collaboration book where each chapter was a short story. And the publisher gave us cases of these books, and we pasted into each book a call to action that says, once you have read this, then pass it on, right? And we sent these to multiple schools, anywhere that we could get a yes to get the book, and then incorporate them either into the school library or as a pass it on. And at the time, we knew that it was this didn't exist. When you look back in history, it was one of the first 10 gay straight alliances in the nation. Right. I was tired. Grew up in theater. I was very tired of watching my friends being bullied, and they needed a safe space in school. To me, that fit diversity. Right. And it felt just right. But that book, the signature story from Am I Blue, is, well, no one is 100% clear and no one is 100% blue. Everywhere is somewhere on that perspective of acceptance or of their level of being gay or straight or anything in between. Because at the time, even using those terms, gay and straight, let alone the 15 terms now that go with it, even that was a stretch. And so I grew up in a family of activists and politicians. And so coming even out of high school, or entering high school in my first year, with this being one of those big pushes, it's something that I've always known to the core of who I am, that words can change the world. And it really was just me following my hobbies and steps forward that then allowed me to bring that same concept into business and to help my stepdad get his voice heard.
Wow. Now, from a family of activists, you definitely grew up with an understanding of the power of words and how words can change the world. Now, in talking about your stepdad, Stanley Meltzoff, and the Picture Maker book, take us into who he was as a professional and what he meant to your life. And just for those who may not be familiar with his particular field and why this project is so important to be published.
Yeah, so Stanley Meltzoff is my stepdad, and he and my mom met 10 years before getting married off on a scuba diving trip and stayed pen pals. When my mom, so in the meanwhile, his first wife passed away and my parents got divorced, and then they came together 10 years after meeting. And I moved in my senior year, I moved out to where he lived in New Jersey and actually graduated from there. But Stanley is a world famous artist. He was one of 4 illustrators for World War II, which is where the magazine or the wartime newspaper Stars and Stripes comes. It was first created for World War II, and he was one of those 4 illustrators. On top of that, he did what we can now do every single day underwater, which is take images. And he would paint that before cameras could even go there. So he would take, National Geographic would send him to, go scuba diving in the tanks of tuna while they're being fed so he could capture their true bodies. And he did everything with natural light, no lighting, no flashes, but true natural light. And is still to this day the world premiere natural artist for underwater painting. He tried teaching it. There are many people that have looked up to him, but he still holds that. As well as then he also did a massive amount of work for fiction. So for science fiction covers specifically, and he would paint the covers of these books. Like The Day After Tomorrow is one of the pictures that he painted the cover for from the original release, or Ray Bradbury's The Illustrated Man, where it's this tattooed man that all moves. And that initial visual concept is the one that he created for the cover that's been reproduced by many artists since. So a lot of what he was doing, and then same with bringing this deep underwater stuff, and he would glue stuff onto his spear gun and take one of the big underwater helmets, and he would do sci-fi floating through the air. And lo and behold, years later, all of a sudden there's spacesuits that look really similar to underwater suits. And so design, whether it was led by the artist or by the sport itself, made it onto the covers of science fiction before it made it into the sky. So he is an artist that in our time, we would sit at the dinner table editing his story, and he'd read it out loud, and we'd be sitting there with scripts. And this is, my mom was an English major, and she helped with the business. And so this is what I did. And then I was, had a hand in on, websites and all that kind of stuff. So transitioning all of his paintings online and getting everything photographed and cataloged so it could be sold, or so his legacy could be recorded. And it was a massive process. But when he tried publishing his book, his autobiography is dry. Yes, he's an awesome artist, but he's an art historian, and it was written like a history book. And though I knew him personally, I could read through this and start laughing at times. And people would look at me being like, that's not funny. I was like, oh, but it is. But that's because I hear the story behind the story. And so not only did we publish his autobiography, as well as the rest cataloging this and building it into the online system, but we also created a biography to match. So all of those, all of a sudden, with my mom and my stepdad passing away, I was the only person left alive who had spent years with Stanley and knew all of the stories, could look at that picture of pennies and be like, oh, that was done for Smithsonian. And it's so funny because Stanley always told this joke about how probability, and it was toss pennies and every penny landed heads up. And the Smithsonian people didn't get the joke, right? It's 100% statistically impossible to always get heads up. That was the joke, right? So they didn't get the joke, and they never hired me again. So he'd tell this story. The reality is that he was a booger, and upset someone and they never wanted to work with him again. It had nothing to do with them getting the joke with the painting, right? But so those are the fun stories, that he had his one story, the reality was different. And that's why I could read this part of his autobiography and laugh, and no one else got it. And so we sat down, the publisher and I, to create all of those stories and to really give time reference for what was historically happening, as well as then the personal and fun stories behind all of the paintings. And it sparked a career. Not only was that book project extremely, it was a $90,000 deal to get everything ready and on the table, but I did such an amazing job positioning every single piece of art that remained in the business that the publisher ended up buying the entire art business. So I could then continue in the path of creating books. I was a caregiver for my grandma, and I really, though I could dedicate some time, I really had to get back to being there for her. And writing gave that opportunity, so I could get on a plane every 3 months. But, selling an art business with all of these tangibles, it was just too much.
So throughout your path of progression, and thank you for sharing that powerful experience. Throughout your path of progression, legacy and duty, and just leveraging writing as your way to honor family and also free your time to care for family, has been a powerful theme throughout your life. In the clients that you work with and that you publish different works, how does the power of expression change their particular lives in terms of getting their story out, and how does that transform the talented men and women that you work with?
Yeah, so it sounds, from what I'm hearing, there's almost two different questions, because people come in for very different reasons. Usually, though, it's that they're so full, like what you're doing is so extraordinary that you're booked solid and you have nowhere else to go, but the message, it needs to go further than where you're at. At the other time, I've been brought in to really record that legacy, the story of the history behind what's happening. And for me, it's that a book it's never just a book, and it's never been that way, but I didn't realize that most people see a book as a book. And for me, it's always been a platform. So in the process of creating that book, you end up with preview articles, you end up with website copy or talking points for interviews, and all of it shows up together. So why wouldn't you capture that as you move forward? And that, apparently, though 8 years into doing the exact same process, is still considered extremely cutting edge for the book world, that you can leverage your knowledge into an entire platform and you don't have to recreate the wheel. It all shows up automatically together. And that is a one big piece, because at that point, then your business can live outside of you. There are so many people who are creating businesses where you are the business, right? But until that business can live outside of you and you can serve your business, it's only lasts as long as you're there. And so that's the main focus of using a book. If you're writing a book for your business platform, for your mission in life, then how do you capture that in a way that is going to go beyond your few years in life? And then I have those that come to me saying, I want this lead magnet and I want some money, so let's figure out how to do this.
Yes.
And typically then it goes into, they are people who are, they might even be in a 9-to-5 or in a corporate job, mm-hmm. but they really have a heart message that needs to be heard. So that it's more about what they feel would most serve the world. Yes. And they're not necessarily building a big, a business platform. They're building a presence platform. So one of my clients right now, she's come to my last 2 writing retreats. She came to me for the book. I have an idea. I want to turn it into a book. And in the process of writing her book, which she's now, I would guess she's about 50% done with her chapters. But in the last 6 months since we've been working together, or 9 months, she has written an entire website, a 5-page website with 3 different opt-ins. She's done a TEDx talk in Tokyo and taken the stage and giving a signature talk for her business. And she turned on the list build piece. And so she's been bringing in about 100 to 200 people a month since she turned on her system, so that when she is ready to launch the book, that there's a list ready to receive it. Yes. Because that's her goal, is for that many people to get this book. So how can we build that awareness and start building that now? So she's doing some articles on a month, but each time she writes a chapter, she's like, ooh, I want to tell them this one fact. And she'll turn it into a newsletter. And it's seeding and preceding everything that's going to come in this book. But it's all part of one thing. She didn't know that's what she's asking for. And every day she's like, thank you so much, Steph. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm coming to your next retreat. So cool. I'll see you soon. And
yes.
So people come for those two. Either you're so full or you have a dream. And that's the thing, is that I turn dreams into reality every day, because if you can take that dream and shape an idea into organized actions, then voicing your passions becomes almost effortless, right? It's like molding a piece of clay or doing a jigsaw puzzle. And as soon as you see the picture, as soon as you have that piece of art, then you can just show the world.
Powerful, powerful point. Oh my goodness. When we're talking about writing in a business context, in terms of your mission versus your website versus your speaker bio versus your Amazon author bio, what are some of the key differences or the different targeting that you must do as a writer in order to make the content stick? Is it a matter of just having the right message, or are there certain adjustments that you have to make from platform to platform?
I think that what I feel is that your core message is your message, and it doesn't change. It's the perspective around that message that changes. So one of the tools that I rely on is Gardner's multiple intelligences. And it's this psychology theory that is saying, like, an IQ test is not the only measurement of intelligence. There's also like musical intelligence, body intelligence, interpersonal, so there's artistic intelligence. So there's all these different types that we like to learn in. And so it's the exact same message, but if you're on Instagram, then your message needs to be carried visually. And if you're on Facebook writing like a long story, then your message needs to light them up and to be able to be felt in some way. So you're not just telling us, but you actually get to show us what it is. So there are slight adjustments, but all of it is one solid message. When you're creating for a book or for a website or for an email or for a Facebook post or for an Instagram post, the one thing blanketed to make your writing, to make your words convert, to really create that action, is to remember that you're only speaking to one person at any given time. There's only one person on the other side of that screen watching this video right now. So you are watching this video. Not we're watching this and all those people, but you, right? You're watching this right now, not us. We're in it. So at any given moment, there's only one other person on the side. And same with your book. There's only one book in one person's hand who is reading through it. And if you're writing to educate or writing to share your message or your vision with the world to help someone grow, so a tool of transformation, then you have to invite them as one person to interact with the words that you're asking to share. And you have to ask that permission to go there with them instead of just railroading them, because I don't like to be told what to do, right? And I might go be contrary and do the exact opposite of what you told me to do. But if you invite me into your perspective or into a possibility, I'm totally there with you. You can only do that with one person at a time. And that person can wear many different faces, but as long as you feel like you're speaking to one person, you're good to go. So like when I drafted an email that I sent out, I think 6 a.m. this morning to my list, it started as an email to one person, right? And I was like, hey, how's it going? I'm going to be speaking at this event and I'd love for you to go. Now, this is what I would call my style of roughing it. Let's head down to an fancy resort and chill out for 3 days, masterminding with other visionary entrepreneurs and visionary business owners. Like, to me, that's an awesome roughing it. Like, it's not really rough, but But I wrote that, or at least half of that email started as an email to one face of someone in my list.
Wow.
Right?
So powerful, powerful points. With regards to the individual, because we're talking to one person out there, and the person I'm trying to reach right now with this next question and dialogue is for that individual who is struggling. They may have not been the English major in high school and college. They may have struggled, but they're in business. They have a particular passion, and they're struggling to write emails, and it's not connecting the way that they want, or the copy on their sales pages is not necessarily converting, and their social media posts not necessarily doing what they wanted to do. So for the individuals who have a do-it-yourself-itis, please share with them what a professional can do, such as yourself, can do for their career, for their business. In essence, what can the right words do to transform a business?
Yeah. So I laugh because there's so many people that come to me saying, I don't know how to sound like myself when I write or when I market. Like all of a sudden I'm such a conscious person. And then I start writing my emails and I sound like a really hard marketer. Like something's off. How do I fix it? And that's a lot of what people come to me for. So even this morning, I was in a meeting with a woman who had searched all of her AdWords before she was willing to have our initial consult. And I said, please just schedule the initial consult, because we walked away and she's like, oh my gosh, I never thought about searching emotional words. I never thought about searching these words. And so it's like, it's great that you wanted to come in prepared, and there's so many other ways to move forward. So one of the tips that I will give away to anyone listening, as well as that I beg of you to please implement, is to read anything you write out loud. And if it doesn't come off of your tongue in a natural way, then you probably shouldn't be writing it in whatever you're doing. And if you're a do-it-yourselfer, when you're writing, are you writing in a way that is speaking to just their problems, or do you get to show the solutions and benefits that you're going to deliver, which is what I find the hardest. Even for myself as a writer, I work with people on my own words, right? So Words That Change the World is a feedback from a lady that I helped write the copywriting for $1 million funnel. And she said, wow, Steph, your words really do change the world. And all of a sudden I had a new tagline, because for her, it was $1 million funnel. It changed her world, and it changed the world of the hundreds of people that chose to come study with her. Right? Yes. Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. What matters is that they made a choice because they could feel what it was going to be like. So, and at the same time, intention is everything. So a woman who is a shaman came to me, and her intention was not financial. Her intention was to get her healings into the hands of as many people as possible. So when we met, she was going to trade shows every couple of months, so 100 people here and there that she was presenting to. And after we created her website and all of her talking points, she was then, she reached out to a woman saying, hey, I'd love to be on your radio show. The woman returned and said, actually, I'm looking to retire and I'd like you to take over. So this woman, who she'd been listening to her radio show for years, is now her platform. And overnight, she went from talking to a couple hundred people to 100,000 people every single week of dedicated listeners in 2 different radio shows, where she gets to give sound healings twice a week. Right? Her intention was met to the T. And some people would be like, 100,000, that's not so much. But for someone who's a shaman and a healer who only had a couple hundred people reach to go to 100,000 weekly was extraordinary.
Yes.
Right? So intention's everything. No matter what your intention is, you can get there. It's the same thing where I say, I take what you say and I turn it into what you meant to say, because often we don't hear our own words. That line itself is straight out of a testimonial of a woman that I've been working with off and on for the last 3 years. She always comes back for some words, because every time she starts writing, it sounds like a scholar scientist, or because she is an activist, she sounds really fiery and angry. Like, you gotta do this, people, just do it. Just put your money down. Come on, let's make this happen. Right. And you're like, whoa, girl, like,
wait a minute.
Hey, wait, what are you doing? Oh, so we're actually going on a trip out to Standing Rock, and we're collecting money because we've spoken to the tribe, and they have asked for food to be delivered at this date, and this is what they're asking for. So we're collecting money because we're going to go out there. We're going to take every single cent that you delivered, and we're going to turn that cent for cent into food that was asked directly from the tribes that are on the land. So does that sound like something you might want to help us out with? If so, we'd love for you, right? But that's different than give me your money, right?
Yes.
And so because what the people that I like to work with and the people that come to me are so passionate about what you're doing, we often get in our own way or can't see how we're turning other people off. So in looking through all of the points of invitations where, if you know me, you know that during this time where we're in an interview, you're not going to come knock on my front door because the dog's going to start barking or the baby's going to wake up. But you know that if you walk down the driveway and to my back door, that the dog's going to know that you're a friend and isn't going to bark, but is going to start wagging tails. So yeah, I can deal with the waggling of the chains on the collar, but the dog isn't going to start freaking out because he's protecting while I'm in a recording. Yeah. Right? That's the difference between a friend that knows that I am about writing that converts, that I really want you to create the book that is your legacy and lead magnet. But if you don't have the technology, I can go build that website for you too and teach you how to do it yourself. Right? So you get the own control over your platform. Is that my front door? No way. And if you don't have your words, then building a website's really hard if there's no words to put into it. And so it's not my front door. It's something that once you know me, or if you're looking for it, you can find. And it's a very different discussion. And so working with a professional helps you identify all of those different points of invitation or ways that you can invite people to come play in your world.
Mm. What type of transformation happens on a Steph Ritz writing retreat?
So the woman that I was speaking of earlier, Debbie, who has done now a TEDx talk and built her website and is in midway through her book writing process. When I met Debbie, it was at an event that I shared my personal story on stage, about a 10-minute talk, and she was in the audience. And she was in the audience in the way back corner because she refused to sign a press release form to have her face on video, right? So that was a year and a half ago, 18 months ago. Since then, she has not only come to retreats twice, done her TEDx talk, put her website out there, done 2 professional photo shoots, but she's actually claiming what she stands for in the world. So to take someone who would refuse to be seen into full visibility was one huge jump. In the same way, there's a woman who came to me to write a sales page, which we did. I specialize in story-based sales pages, not for low-end products, because it's got to be worth the price tag, which is how you end up with $1 million funnels. But she came to me for a $5,000 price point that she wanted to sell, and she wanted to help figuring out the story to position the sales page with. When I did a testimonial with her at the back end after doing our work, but she said she wasn't expecting to realize that she was going to end up raising her rates in all aspects of her business, not just this one sales page, but that she actually was able to claim herself and that she felt like she had given birth to a baby that had been inside of her for 12 years. Like this dream, this desire that she had was, she hired me and pop, there came, right? And all of a sudden she was a mama, proud and to be, right? But when you have that desire for so long, most people, when you want to write a book, once you know you want to write a book, it's usually 9 years before you pick up the pen to even start, and another 9 years before you complete it. You know, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to write it now, and I want it to come out now. And so it's how I ended up as a ghostwriter. Put me on a plane, interview it out of me, go home, transcribe it, rearrange it, come interview me some more to fill in all the missing pieces. And in a matter of 6 months to a year, your entire platform is built. The book, the website, the preview articles, everything has rolled out as it needs to roll out. and you're good to go. But you could take your 18 years getting there if you wanted, really. So
matter of time. Any closing remarks, Steph? This has been a powerful dialogue that is extremely valuable for our viewers. Any closing remarks that you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah. So as someone who feels like I've fallen into business, or I've just kind of been walking the path that life gave me, the reality is that I wanted to hide, and I've hidden myself before, and most entrepreneurs are still hiding a layer of themselves. So to not only peel that back and to reveal your true vulnerability, but to realize that it's not even about you. It's about all of the people waiting to receive your message. And until you get to step up to that plate, until you get to take the stand for what you know that you can deliver to them and stop making it about you, that's when you're ready to step forward. And that you have to be ready to consciously make that choice to stand and to voice your passions. So, yeah.
Powerful. StephRitz.com. StephRitz.com. That is RITZ.com. This is Eleazer on behalf of Steph Ritz, Words That Change the World and Writing That Converts. This has been Behind the Brand, where we tell the story behind the success. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.